Hi, everyone. Again, I'm Michelle Kenyon, Director of Field to Family. My background really has nothing to do with farming, but more about nonprofit management and journalism. So I really have a passion for working with others collaboratively to make the world a better place. And working with Field to Family has been amazing. And to get to work with farmers is something I'm very thankful for every day. And so how I ended up running a food hub is a very, bizarre, really happenstance in many ways. I would never have predicted it. But that's part of what I'm going to tell you a little bit about our origin story and how we started, how we had our roles and infrastructure, and then a little bit about how we've evolved throughout that time. And I have a lot of information in this presentation that isn't specifically about the centralized roles and infrastructure, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I just wanted to make sure it was included just in case, because there's no one aspect of a food hub. It's all interconnected. There's many components that build off of each other. So again, I'm happy to talk about anything specific at any point in the presentation or at the very end. So again, thank you for having me. I'm really excited about the work that you're all about to endeavor on, and I hope that I can offer some support in that area. So I've already introduced a little bit about Field to Family. We are a nonprofit food hub. We started off as a Buy Fresh, Buy Local chapter, but also we became a farm to school chapter as well. Iowa handles farm to school differently than other states. We do run a program, but the schools actually work specifically with the Iowa Department of Agriculture and Land Stewardship, otherwise known as IDALS, to form their own chapter that's attached to that school. And they get some seed funding when they start. Not much, but some. So it encourages schools to be more involved from the ground up of their farm to school work. And we were able to work with several different schools in our region to start a farm to school chapter. And we've continuously provided resources to them. There's a lot of reasons why we decided to start a food hub. As I went back through before, it was an obvious gap in the community after an assessment, and that because of our relationship with farmers, we were the choice we were asked to start a food hub within our nonprofit and add that onto our mission and our educational offerings. So I'm just going to go ahead and dive in and show a couple of videos about our wholesale procurement and our online farmers market, just so you know what I'm about to talk to you about.
Field to Family is your one-stop shop for wholesale local food. We work with producers and farmers within a 100-mile radius of Johnson County, and we serve wholesale institutional customers like schools, retirement communities, and grocery stores, food access organizations, and we also are proud to serve colleges and universities, including the University of Iowa, which is just down the road here. We work really hard to try to make sure that it's as easy as possible to order a large diversity of products. So you could be ordering from 10 or 15 different farmers, and you shop one cart and you get one delivery and one invoice. So if you're interested in ordering wholesale from Field to Family, you can log into your cart after you receive a reminder email from us every Wednesday at noon. You have until Friday at 10 a.m. to shop all of the available products that week. Anything from seasonal fruits and veggies to honey to dairy. We deliver once a week, usually on Tuesdays. Oftentimes our products are harvested within 48 hours of delivery to your dock or door. We do this because we believe everyone deserves access to good, locally produced food, and we believe that we can serve as a connector between the talented producers in our community and the people who are eating in cafeterias every day. If you're interested in working with Field to Family, we'd love to serve you, so please get in touch and we can start a conversation about how to source locally year-round.
So yes, when we first started as a food hub, we focused entirely on wholesale. And this was primarily because of the assessment that was done in the community that we...
Field to Family is your one...
I apologize for that. It's hard. There we go. The assessment was primarily done on finding the needs within the community. And Iowa City and Cedar Rapids actually has a strong local food scene. We have a lot of CSA options, strong farmers markets. So the direct to consumer at that point was the demand there was being fulfilled. And we had farmers who were selling out of shares for their CSAs every year. We also had farmers that needed more families and households to survive. However, a lot of the farmers that were in this area had developed their own market channels and strategies, and they had grown throughout the years. On the other hand, we had new farmers starting off, and we had farmers stopping as well. So it's been it's always been a very strong local food scene, but we had institutions saying the supply isn't there, and we had farmers saying that the supply was there, that there was an overabundance actually. But when COVID hit last year, our thriving local food scene was thrown for a loop, obviously. The Iowa City Farmers Market, which is a really popular market, decided not to function or not to run at all. And they partnered with us to offer an online option, of which we've continued this year. And that partnership allowed us to work with farmers we had never worked with. The farmers we were working with, like I said, we're wholesale. So this opened up a new channel for us, which I'll get into more of the details of that later. But here's a little bit about how the online farmers market works.
Hey everybody, welcome to a week with Field to Family's online farmers market. Saturday evening through Tuesday morning, vendors and staff add new products to our storefront and update inventory. We have everything from plants, produce, meat, dairy, and more. Just before carts open at noon on Tuesday morning, registered customers get a reminder email, which takes them straight to our storefront. Customers have until Wednesday at noon to add available products to their carts and confirm those orders. Once carts close Wednesday afternoon, vendors get a list of everything they sold for the week and begin to harvest, prepare, and pack for delivery. Vendors drop off their products Thursday afternoon and Friday morning, while staff and volunteers count in every single item and take care to store everything safely. We might enjoy a special treat here and there too. Friday afternoons are busy, busy, busy. Our staff and volunteers pack each customer's order separately. Dry items are packed and stored in one space and cold storage items in another. Saturday morning, we bring the bags across the street to the Johnson County Health and Human Services parking ramp. We keep dry bags on the table, cold bags in the cooler, and frozens in the freezer. Customers arrive during their designated 30-minute pickup window and follow the signs right on in. Then they wait for a volunteer to bring their bags, contact-free, to the car. Bikers and walkers are welcome too. Once everyone has gotten their goodies, we pack up and get ready to do it all over again next week. Learn more at fieldtofamily.org/online farmers market. Hey everybody, welcome to a week with Field to Family.
All right, here we go. Sorry about that. So I want to take a step back and talk to you a little bit about how we launched. Again, like we had formed a farm to school program with an education and procurement focus, but this was back in 2010. We immediately began working with a nutrition services director to identify crops that could be added to their menu in the most easy way. And we brokered. There wasn't infrastructure, there wasn't a food hub, but we were able to broker some between farmers and the schools to get into the lunchroom. When it came to working with one customer, it involved a lot of meetings and a lot of relationship building. With any large wholesale customer, they have their own internal infrastructure to manage. So with Iowa City Community School District, they served at that time about 6,000 kids a day. That's about 8,000 now, but at the time it was 6,000, and they had 5 production kitchens that had 5 separate orders, and you needed to fill each of those individual orders with one source, with one farmer. And there were times that we couldn't meet that large demand. We couldn't get 320 pints of cherry tomatoes. We couldn't get 400 pounds of watermelon or something like that at the time. So year by year, we worked with farmers and in a partnership to help build up their supply so they can meet the demand of the school district. And we had a lot of success with that. Of course, we're talking about one customer and a few farmers, but it was a great success over the years until ultimately, like I said, the assessment that the community came together to put on, I really identified the clear need for a local food hub to meet a larger demand outside of the schools, but also within the schools. We were still just meeting a portion of what their needs. So we launched in 2019, focusing on wholesale, and we immediately worked with, of course, the University of Iowa. We worked with retirement communities in this area, other school districts, and hunger relief agencies. But first, we had to work very closely to build our own infrastructure. And first off, of course, staff. I'll dive into that a little bit later, but we needed to have a team to run the space. We needed also to work very closely with our farmers in partnership, because this would never succeed without our farmer partners, and of course, customers. We needed to figure out something to handle our ordering and inventory software. We're using Local Foods Marketplace now, but not when we first started. We needed distribution, of course, space, and of course, putting those community relationships first from the beginning. So when we first launched our staff, we had a full-time director of the organization. We had a part-time farm to school coordinator that primarily ran our educational programs. As I described earlier, we would put on farmer fairs. We would bring the farm to the school. We would host school garden workshops where we really talked to the teachers about bringing their kids outdoors to learn more about where their food comes from. And we had a full-time food hub manager and one part-time driver. This was just to get us going our first year. And actually, we had to get this in place before we launched. Before pre-launch was a good 6 to 9 months of planning and building our team. So of course, partnerships are essential in any community effort. We partnered with Table to Table on our warehouse space. We brought in the food storage, as they do not store food. They're a food waste relief agency, rescue agency. And so they don't actually store food. They just get it to where it's most needed in the community. Before we had our own refrigerated van, we were able to use one of theirs, and they had 9, a fleet of refrigerated vans, which was incredible. And we also before we had a walk-in, we got a cool bot, which it's on a trailer, so we can park it, take it anywhere, park it, plug it in, and it works. It's really incredible. It's known as a kind of a scrappy, cheap walk-in, but it actually really works well. So we still use the CoolBot, even though we have a large walk-in and other cold storage. We worked with other food businesses within the community to learn how they handled food safety and cold storage. So we got these things called sensor pushes, so we can monitor the temperature wherever we are, something I think one of the other food hubs is also doing. And then because we weren't ready to choose an online order management system, and we felt like we needed to dive in a little bit more and learn about learn what we were doing a little bit more before we chose one, we created our own internal order management system that worked really well with QuickBooks. And of course, Google Workspace, really everything's on Google these days. Measuring demand from customers and supply from farmers. Of course, this is pre-launch, really. We had to work a fine line of not to replace existing relationships between farmers and customers. We wanted to add local and add options and not take anything away. And so that was a challenge because we do have some farmers that were working very closely with some of the institutions we were working with. But ultimately, our goal was not to make money. So our goal is to expand. And with that mission in mind and that partnership in mind, we were able to work together. And we still do. Farmers, of course, like I said, our first meetings with farmers were to establish an interest in wholesale. And while many were very interested, we saw that there was a lot of training required. And we're very fortunate in this area that there are at least 2, 3, if you count an extension, organizations or entities in this area that provide a lot of training for farmers directly. So we don't actually do that. We do have one-on-one meetings with farmers and group planning meetings to talk about how to work with us specifically, but anything outside of that, for the most part, we leverage our relationships with Practical Farmers of Iowa, Iowa Valley RC&D, and Extension to provide the resources farmers need to scale up in their enterprise. We also needed to choose how to work with farmers, which farmers to work with. And we needed to also keep in mind that we need to have predictability for our customers. And so we needed a dedicated supply. So we opted for a model where we have a primary source for each crop. And if we have a primary source for each crop, we have a secondary as well, which means that we know we have a list of products that we're offering as a food hub. We know we know all those crops intimately. And we have primary sources, secondary sources, and tertiary sources in some situations. And of course, we had a lot to figure out. We had to create production agreements, food specs, and of course, our food safety manual. So when diving in just a little bit on this is some of the things that we had to talk to farmers about specifically to help them understand what they had in the ground, how they could measure their own availability. So there's crop planning resources out there that help farmers estimate how much is out there. We had to work on a food safety plan, and we had to understand FSMA. FSMA wasn't required when we first started, but it became, we knew it was coming. So we had to get through all the different trainings and continue to offer those trainings as well. Make sure that other farmers that we're working with, we're going to be able to meet those important guidelines. Also, we needed to help understand at least share to farmers what packaging we needed to offer, and customers as well, what they were looking for, what we were able to offer. So there's different, of course, sizes and labeling requirements. So when we price for wholesale, there's different considerations. Obviously, it's a lower price point than retail. We're talking larger items. We need to fill a case at the very minimum. Yeah, we define that case with you, like what is a case of basil? Our case right now is 5 pounds. So if you can fill a case, we can sell your case. But if you can't fill a case, then we need to go retail on that. Packaging, all the things that farmers need to think about in order to scale up. Specs. So this was a challenge for us because we didn't have our own specs. Our customers have required specs, what they consider quality and what they're purchasing. And each customer had different requirements. Fun. So things we had just had to break it down into a very detailed report just so people knew what we were asking for. So for the most part, it's pretty comparable to other product spec checklist for the most part. However, when it came to the schools, they needed a uniformity in size for various different products. So for those, we had to break it down that we are pricing at like what's a small sweet potato, what's a medium-sized sweet potato, what are those sizes, and then how much do we need? And so that was something we had to figure out with the customer and the farmer both. But for the most part, the specs that we have are comparable to others. And of course, packaging, FSMA standards, making sure that everything is on that label that's required to be there this is just what we absolutely require. And we're able to provide some boxing chart examples. If a farmer wants to offer something outside of these sizes, we work with them to see if there's a buyer for those sizes. Sometimes I'm going to farmers saying a customer really wants actually a smaller size or a different size, and I'll work with individual farmers on that when that comes up. But generally, we go by the bunch, we go by the case, and we try to define what those cases look like. Invoicing, always another very essential component to any farm enterprise. The farmer needs to be paid. And so providing invoices are essential to your customers. A lot of the farmers we were working with weren't used to providing invoices. They were doing direct to consumer markets or CSAs. So without, when going beyond those markets, you need a invoice, which of course, when I going into this, I thought that's just easy. Of course, we can just ask for an invoice, but that wasn't as easy as we thought. We would actually get invoices that we couldn't read or didn't have the essential information. We weren't able to pay them because it didn't have a way to get them their payment. But we provided a template to our farmers so they can fill that out and make it easier for them to provide us invoices. So we do provide net 30 payment. And we do this, we would love to pay sooner. We completely understand the seasonality of this food and the labor costs that go in. But our customers, some of them aren't paying until net 60. So we do have to measure that cash flow issue. But we also strive to keep a farmer sustainable. So net 30 is our limit. And, when we talk to farmers, we need to talk to them about what it means to work with a food hub. We have meetings with group farmers every year. And then we also have, following that group planning, producer planning meetings, we'll have individual meetings with each farmer to help understand what are their needs to work with us, what trainings they might need, anything like that we can help identify to get them that, or anything else, what products they're looking most forward to growing, so that we can eventually figure out who our primary and secondaries are going to be on each. We have to go through the software with them. Let me just start here, go through the meetings. Yes, we not only need to talk about the requirements that we have as a hub, which right now we just require insurance. When we have a customer that requires more than that, we are clear to work with farmers that have GAP training or GAP certification if that's what the customer requires. But that's not required of us for most of our customers. So we just require the very minimum insurance. But we also require an understanding of the standards and expectations of working with us. And our producers are key to this endeavor. So our relationship with them is important. We invest a lot of time and staff time into that relationship. We have a producer agreement that ultimately outlines what we expect very clearly and asks for them to fill out a little bit of information about their farm, but is not super. This one's our producer agreement for this year, which is primary contract. What do you sell? And then We do need to have, for our online farmers market, we do need to have copies of the licenses that they're required to have to sell whatever product they're selling on the online farmers market, but not for our wholesale. But we just outline our agreement really clearly, that we can come visit, that you're willing to let us come visit at some point, that you do have the insurance that we need, that you are going to you do understand that the quality needs to be there for all the products. We also talk about pricing. We generally work to get a fair price for the farmer. We do understand that it can be a huge challenge when it comes to wholesale. When it comes to the online market, it's a lot easier. But when it comes to wholesale, we try to take on as much as we possibly can for the farmer to make that sale. So it doesn't require as much time for them to navigate as it does for a farmer's market or a CSA. So we try to, like I said, we provide as many services for producers as possible, which includes the aggregation, storage, distribution, and the promotion of them and their food. And we do have to pay our staff and cover our expenses. So we do strive to add a 20% margin on top of the product. We don't do this. Last year, our margin was about 17%, and that was higher than the first year, which was at 14%. With some, and that, local food marketplace has you just put in the margin right away, but there's so many exceptions. There's times when we don't have the right price for that week for some reason. There's been a miscommunication. So we end up paying more for it than we expected, or less for it than we expected. Sometimes there's a farmer that just has an abundance, an excess of something. And so they're offering it for us less, and we're able to get it for more. So we do ultimately shuffle, our margin does shuffle a little bit, but ultimately we need to cover our expenses. And we're not covering our expenses. Our goal is to only cover so much of our expenses through our margin, because as a nonprofit, we want to make sure we're able to bring in other funding to keep us afloat so that we can keep operating. The goal ultimately is to work really hard to get that fair price to farmers. Of course, now we're using local food marketplace, so we need to go through that with each farmer of how they can navigate that, because we do require them to get on there, update their availability for what they have each week, and then also use it to see what their sales are each week. So generally we have schedules for both wholesale and for online farmers market. So there's some producers that we work with that are just for wholesale, and then there's some, of course, just for online farmers market, and some both. So they have to get on there at a certain time each day to make sure that they only list the amount of products that they have available. And we ask a lot of farmers We ask them to figure out what they're going to have on Saturday by Tuesday. And that was a huge challenge when we first started the online farmers market. For wholesale producers, at this point, they have it down. They pretty much, they know what they have available, and that was a different cycle, of course, because we do that. We need to know on Wednesday what they're going to have for the following Tuesday. But they also agree to a delivery timeline for those products that we can get them to the customers on time. And so they put their availability in, and then when the cart has closed, soon after, they'll get their list of orders and get to see how much they've sold and how much and who to. Like, we're very transparent with our customers and to show who bought what and how much of it. So we go through our wholesale checklist with farmers so they understand producers we're looking for. This is specifically, obviously, for wholesale. But even for our online farmers market, we work with local farmers. We define that by a 100-mile radius for the most part. When we don't have a crop that's available within that 100-yard radius, we will go outside of that 100-yard radius. We need the required documentation. We need a commitment to regular communication. That is one of the biggest challenges. Everyone's busy. We're busy. Farmers are busy. And we need to talk to each other when they're the most busy. So so communication is something that's ongoing and that we always have to work on. But again, like if a producer is willing to make it a priority, then it makes it easier for us to work with them. And of course, by our continuous partnership with them and relationship building that we have, we're able to promote them even more when we know what's going on. When we know more about why they farm, it helps us promote them to the customers. As the customers they want to purchase from a food hub. They love the idea of purchasing with Field to Family, but they still want to know, who's that collective farm? What's happening at Salt Fork Farm now? They still want to know the details, and we partner with our customers to help promote to their customers, who's, letting them know, connect them to the farmers. And of course, when we work with customers, we talk about why they should work with us. The benefits of working with a food hub include having a relationship with your provider, having a relationship with your food hub and the farmers that they work with. Of course, the one source, one invoice, one delivery, the integrity and quality, and the marketing support as well. We definitely offer that hands-on offering marketing support. And then of course, we do accept EBT for our online farmers market, which is not something a lot of our farmers can do on their own. So when we started in June, when we first started in June of 2018, let me go back to that slide. We were like one food hub manager, one part-time driver, a part-time educational coordinator, and a full-time director. And then we're at now where a year later, we're still putting those relationships first, continuously working to measure the demand and supply. We have had to learn how we have to adapt our primary and secondaries all the time. This year, we were really hoping to work with a farmer that was doing direct to consumer, really wanted to go to wholesale, had been planning for years to go to wholesale. And so we had established relationship with that farmer, but then their crop failed. One of their main crops failed this year. They bought from a new seed supplier because of the seed shortage. They went out to someone they never bought from before and just had a failure. So we had to adapt again, primary, secondaries all the time. A year ago today, we had a huge windstorm called a derecho, and it was just devastating to a lot of our farmers. So we had to adapt as well. Our staff, we grew. We added a food hub manager. So we had already one, we added another one. We split them in a sense to one for operations manager and one for sales and partnerships manager. The idea was that the food hub manager we had in place, who would become the sales and partnerships manager, would have more time to develop relationships with our customers and other partners in the community. So we had gotten funding to provide local foods to hunger relief agencies that was very specific for that. And we were able to utilize that funding to work with farmers we hadn't worked with before to help them grow their supply to meet a larger demand. It just takes time. And so we were really excited to have an full-time operations manager and a full-time sales and partnership manager. And, just so you get a idea, this is just an operations manager role right here. Every day there's an SOP. Every day we know about time it takes. Every day there's something going on. And if there's not, there's all this stuff to do at some point during the week. So just managing the operations took a lot of time. So we were happy to have the staff time freed up to manage more of the relationships. And we were able to add more seasonal support to our operations, which meant we were able to bring on 2 part-time seasonal support staff to leverage our volunteers. As a nonprofit, we get to do that. It's one of the benefits of being a nonprofit is to be able to utilize volunteers. And with our online farmers market, we couldn't do it without volunteers. The added packaging time would be impossible to do with just staff, for instance. So we were able to add, and we also added a communications coordinator. And we were able to do this through various different educational type grants, but a portion of their time was spent working on both the online farmers market and the wholesale component of our food hub, which became essential because our work, of course, is to build these relationships, and relationships require a lot of communication. So our infrastructure expanded a little bit. It didn't need too much, but we did add the local food marketplace in the second year. We did add a YouTube channel because people want to watch what you're doing. And the farm to classroom portal, I mentioned this earlier, that our farm to school work needed to find a way to exist outside of the schools. And so we created a farm to classroom portal. So this is some of the work that our communications coordinator has done to promote local food and farms, just to put profiles up, videos up. We would try to get out there and visit the farmers and see what they're doing, and let everyone else know what they're doing. Our classroom portal is here, and you can just dive in as an educator and meet some farmers here, but also there's basic tutorials that are put on by educators, and then a little bit of, other videos to offer. So having communication support really is important. But for the first year, we did that with our smaller staff, and it wasn't as much, but it still existed, which is great. Trying to find, okay, and this is our online farmers, or our online software for ordering. So this is both for wholesale and our online. And so we're able to put some information on here. You sign up, you can shop, and meet your your producers as well. Okay, so let me get to where I was. Let's see. Okay, consultants, accounting and legal. Accounting is another one of those things that you need, that you don't realize how much you need until you're in the middle of it. So I mentioned earlier about the invoicing issues that we had from farmers immediately, that some of them didn't know how to provide an invoice that had the essential information we needed on it to pay them. But we also would have issues with invoices that they wouldn't send us. And then we would get weeks later, and then need to account for that and understand it was one of those things that we didn't anticipate needing to figure out before we launched until after, of course. And so the system now, we keep close track of all our orders, and then we'll basically have to hound a farmer if we don't get the invoice right away. So we keep an ongoing list of invoices that we're missing in order to track those down. The legal stuff, more is just to make sure that we're keeping in line with changing food safety. Oh my God, that has been fun, because IDOLs, and there's the Department of Inspections and Appeals that they have various, obviously, regulations that are there for our safety as a community, and we honor them and are glad that they exist, and we want to work with them. They're a new partner, and sometimes it can be a challenge when they come and say that you're not following all the regulations, and then they outline the regulations that they don't think you're following, when in fact you are. You just have to show proof. But it can be something that's not predictable and something that's not really done in partnership. However, anytime we do work with those entities, we have always walked away with a better understanding of each other and a stronger relationship, because in general, those people who fill those jobs in the state have done it for a long time and will probably keep doing it for a long time. So that's one good thing about that, for sure, is to be able to work with the same person at each entity. Okay, so our future focus. We are beginning of year 3, and we have faced some challenges, of course, that we didn't expect. Both of our managers left around the same time for new positions. One had been with us for 3 years and helped, launch the entire thing. And really, she was looking to expand and take on other advocacy roles and take on a larger role. And she did find that. And we're really excited for her. The timing was challenging for us. At the same time, our operations manager needed to move closer to be with his family, as they were on their family farm. Their health was failing. So our operations manager left around the same time. So we have, after just beginning our 3rd year, we're having to reset again. For any small nonprofit, losing one staff is a challenge. Losing 2 is really even more than a challenge, obviously, and it's something we've had to take a reset at. Like, okay, now what? And ultimately, we cannot change our add staffing immediately, right? All that takes time. So our goal is to get a full-time operations manager up and going. We've had interviews, and they should start by the end of the month, if not the beginning of September. This, of course, is the worst time in the season for staff changes. We have school starting in just a couple of weeks, so we already have those orders from schools that are in and need to be taken care of. And then we have a state local food day in early October. So we consider the prime of our season really starting a couple of weeks ago until really mid-November-ish. Things do slow down after that, even though they really don't slow down until February, but this is the prime time. So we're in a new stage where we need to define our needs when it comes to what we just need, for sure, for our staffing. And that's an operations manager. As I showed you earlier, there's something every day that an operations manager, these are SOPs for every little thing, just to make sure that we can do this, with anyone, that we can take care of all the operational and internal stuff, so we can keep our online farmers market going, and we can keep our wholesale sales going, at least until we can get, just to keep functioning until we get back to more staff. But also, we know that our accounting needs are going to increase as our sales increase. And then IT, I really think any entity these days needs IT support. So if you work for a larger nonprofit that has that in-house, amazing. If you work for one like ours that doesn't have it in-house, it can become really costly, but it's essential. And I've tried to define some of the staff roles here, at least what we're thinking the future focus is. So to keep, right now I'm doing 3 people's jobs. So I'm going to continue to do that to people's jobs for a while, but ultimately it's about leveraging partnerships. And so the work that I do as a director will be focused on just leveraging those partnerships in a sense that also help build the food hub. An operations manager, it's day to day. There's things that need to be done at 5 o'clock tomorrow. There's something that needs to be done at 8 a.m. tomorrow. And yesterday at 8:30, but then a lot of things just needs to happen every day. So, and then also operations manager they're the primary person who keeps in contact with our producers. So they're able to keep that focus on that relationship so that they can have a better understanding of what's coming, what might be short in the field. So when we have a special event right now, we're asked to source a special event every year for the city, that it's easy for the operations manager to identify which farmer to contact for each crop that's needed for any of those special events outside of our regular operations. Communications, again, I went through that. It's really important to have someone who can handle not just the promotional and marketing support for the customers and the customers' customers, but also internally. We have worked to create trying to get farmers to learn more about us. So our wholesale, there's something for customers and for producers. So we make sure that people can understand, learn before they contact us about what they're interested in. They can do some research. They can come ready to talk about and get their questions answered at the table. But having this communication there, easy to understand, is essential. We are continuing to have seasonal support staff. The online market requires that. We can't, because we have a lot going on at one time. We need a certain amount of staff to handle that. And then in order for our operations manager to work a 5-day week, our seasonal support staff is able to make that happen by taking on one of the full day's responsibilities. Otherwise, it would be a 6-day week for our operations manager throughout at least through May through December. So we try to offer some quality of life to our staff. And then this year, we're also we have a couple grants coming down to help fund our education efforts. So we are going to hire a farm to school director that will work much closely with schools to make the cafeteria a classroom is the goal, but also just be able to work closer with schools, not just getting school lunch sourced locally, but also to get more education in the schools. And again, this work comes with a lot of challenges. We are small, compared to the other hubs that you're working with today and learning about today. But we all have a lot of the same challenges, generally, COVID, what was that? I mean, it was a huge impact on our food system. At least for our area, food security became really important. The CSAs sold out. Some of them expanded to meet more demand and then weren't able to work with us on wholesale anymore. This community really came out and showed what support for local food can look like. So as I said earlier, this area has a strong local food scene, but you really saw what it could be about this time last year when people were choosing local first more often in our community. And it showed us what was possible, and the need to maintain that excitement surrounding local foods is essential. We have not as much. Some CSAs have not filled up like they did last year. The online farmers market sales are down, but the farmers markets are running, which is a win-win right there. We definitely need to create more access around local foods, but we also need to make sure that those farmers are being sustainable. So maintaining that excitement around local foods that was shown during COVID last year is a common challenge, I think. And also, we offer wholesale and we offer an online farmers market, but not everyone's able to access it. We will always have challenges with that. That's why it's so great. There still are farmers markets and there are grocery stores selling local, because we're not able to meet 100% of the need in the community. For our online market, for instance, you need to order by a certain time to pick up on a certain day, or we do have delivery now, which has been amazing. We work with a local delivery service, and as a nonprofit, they're one of our sponsors, so we don't actually have to pay for their services. We give them a lot of promotion, which is something that happened this year. And this was COVID related, in that during COVID, they were, as a local delivery service, they were overwhelmed. They grew exponentially in their business. And then this year it has shrunk. They do say though that their highs pre-COVID, their highs pre-COVID is now their lows. So they're still doing well, but they do want to give their drivers more to do. So we are able to offer home delivery and online pickup. And of course, EBT we can take and accept, but that cannot be a delivery option because you have to be taken on site. So all of this is to say is that while we're creating access for more local foods for more people, it's still not meeting all the demand. Not everyone's able to order by our certain ordering periods and get it. Fair pay to the farmer and meeting customer expectations will always be a challenge. And that's just something across the board. The cost of real food is so important for people to understand and for more of us to talk about. But our community and our media haven't really spent much time on that. And that's something we would love to do more as an organization. Of course, we need to grow. We did have, 750,000 of sales last year, which was more, our highest ever. But, with all the trainings that we've done as a nonprofit, you need to hit that 1 million mark to even think about being sustainable. We're changing the way we define success for us, right? Like I said, we're a nonprofit, so we're able to raise other funding to support our work. And we're not trying to be sustainable. We're not trying to get our margin to cover our costs. We need to get other public and grant funding. But we need to earn that funding. We need to utilize it well. That ultimately does build up the demand for local foods in our community. And ultimately, Iowa has a lot of products, farm products that come out of this state, a lot. We don't consume a lot of it. We still import most of the food that we eat. We're still have a long way to go when we look at our ultimate goals. But ultimately, anytime we create more choice, more access is our success. So it's where we put our success. So I went through a lot. I just would love to hear what more you want me to dive into. Let's see if there's anything specific questions you have, or if you want me to show you some specific documents.
There was one question about what online sales platform you're using, and you answered that, which is Local Food Marketplace. But I had a question about that. So I know that the farmers that you're working with are inputting all of their stuff for the direct to consumer piece. What about for wholesale? How is that being managed with Local Food Marketplace?
Yes, so for wholesale, it is both ways. It's both done by them, and then some of them we do. Some of the farmers put out their own list each week, or we have to give them a call. It's definitely not as easy, not as streamlined for the wholesale component as we would like it to be. But ultimately, before we open the cart, we double check as much as we can on the availability and the products available. And if we're too unsure, we don't list. But ultimately, it's that communication that we need to keep going.
Thank you. Does anybody out there have questions if they want to unmute themselves and holler out? Okay, I have another question, and it's about the EBT. So are folks, if somebody wants to shop on the online marketplace with EBT, then are they able to pay on the online marketplace with EBT, or does the EBT transaction happen in person when they pick it up? Because I know that the rules have changed around that.
Right. No, so we're not able to have them pay online. They are actually, Local Food Marketplace offers different customer types. So if you're a direct-to-consumer and customer type in our Local Food Marketplace, then you're required to have credit card or e-check information in your profile before confirming your order. But if you're an EBT customer, we have it set so that you do not have to have that information in there. And you can order just as everybody else does, but you're just required to bring your card when you pick up. And we run it with the machine there on site. And we also offer products that aren't eligible for EBT, not many, but a few. We have a farmer that puts those catnip mice on their store. So we can't cover the catnip mice with EBT. So we'll contact the customers directly to let them know that we can either take it off their order or they can pay for it either online or in cash at the site. And so we work with them individually on that. So, and that was not a fun process to get the ability to accept EBT, because the USDA had us miscategorized. So it took like 3 extra weeks than we anticipated.
Are you able to take advantage of produce perks or double up food bucks or whatever you might call it in your state, where like people can be using their EBT at, say, a farmer's market to get double their money for produce?
Yeah, so there are double up food bucks places here, and there is funding for that. It was spent last year completely for the first time, which was incredible. We were able to do that last year because we partnered with the city, because they were an official Double Up Food Bucks partner. This year we're not, but we are using donations that we received to be able to offer produce to food pantries with those donations. So again, like if they expanded the Double Up Food Bucks program, we might be able to offer it on our market, but they're not expanding this year as they used up all the funding last year, which I hope they do again, because the previous year there was upwards of $20,000 that was not spent. It was really sad, actually.
Other questions from anybody? We have about 7 minutes before we go to lunch.
Michelle, I had a question. You had talked, I believe, about how you guys don't have a farmer training program, but you work with Extension and other groups to kind of provide a lot of that. Is that true?
It is. I mean, we do provide a lot of one-on-one support to a farmer who wants to work with us, like help identify the kind of trainings that they need and who can give that to them. But Practical Farmers of Iowa is a statewide organization that offers a lot of trainings, as well as the Iowa Valley RC&D. And then, of course, Extension does some, but those two offer a lot of different trainings in this region that help farmers scale up.
Gotcha. And are you guys, like, how do you interact, I guess, with those other service providers like Practical Farmers of Iowa? I wonder if like you have any suggestions for us in Extension of like how we can support food hubs like this.
Yes. So in general, we're very thankful for not just Extension in Iowa, but PFI and Iowa Valley RC&D for them offering services to farmers that are needed, for sure. And they do listen. Like if we let them know that there's a need, a specific need that we're hearing, they will look into and potentially offer it down the road. But the biggest, really the most beneficial service that we've received from Extension in partnership with Iowa Valley RC&D is this coalition that they put together called the Iowa Food Hub Managers Working Group. And before COVID, we got together at least once a month or quarterly, but then would talk once a month and just talk. We're not all the same, as Sarah said. When you know one food hub, you know one food hub. Even within the state of Iowa, we're all different, but we still have a lot of things in common and can learn a lot from each other. So these meetings, of course, went online during COVID and have just become essential. We learn about the challenges. We're able to share information from farmers and sources and supply. We have created a partnership with another food hub. Iowa is a very small state. We have 3 million people in the entire state. And so, that's another reason why our goals as a food hub are pretty muted in a sense, and that there's just not a lot of people eating around here. And we're working with other food hubs. And so ultimately, though, we have been able to establish a relationship with a food hub that's in Western Iowa that services both Des Moines and Omaha, Nebraska. And when they have needs, last year, we first started this relationship, we were able to fulfill some of their needs with our farmers here, and have another farmer that was able to provide transportation between us and Des Moines to get them our product. And it worked out. It was very minimal last year, but it worked out, and it ended up being very beneficial to the other food hub and our farmers. That gave us another customer. Well, this year it became even more essential. And so we basically have a food hub as one of our main customers. And it's been incredible to be able to work together this way. And then other food hubs within our working group are trying to do the same thing, because we're looking for a way to create more nodes so that farmers don't have to travel so far to drop off product. So we can look at what our strategies are, what our routes are every day, so that we can find those places where it'd be good to have a node so farmers can drop off in the cool bot, or someone's walk in and another person could easily pick that up and get it to the place that's needed. So ultimately, the sky is the limit when it comes to figuring out a way to meet our challenges together. But having that regular organized working group meetings has been incredible. And it's not something one food hub can do by themselves. So I'm really thankful for the support that Extension gives to that working group.
And that's really great to hear. Oh, sorry, Sarah. I just had one follow-up question. Okay. Okay. I was just wondering how often that group meets and comes together, and whether there's like kind of a like topic presented, or whether it's more so just kind of a share what's going on and how we might be able to work with each other.
Yes. So before COVID, we met quarterly, and we always met at a food hub. So we would, the focus would be learn about that one food hub, be able to tour and have questions, and then eat lunch. And then after that, we would do updates. Everyone would just talk about what they need and what's going on and anything new. Since COVID, we're meeting every other week, and on Zoom. And people, not every week does everybody join. Not every other. I mean, it's every other, twice a month. So not every time people can join, but for the most part, I get on there to touch base. And then for the most part, we do have a topic because we want to dive in, spend some time diving in. They're generally 2 hours. But sometimes the updates just take that long.
Michelle, can you share the name of the person at Extension who organizes that at Iowa Extension? What is
Kayla Cater.
Kayla Cater.
I can put her email in the chat too.
Yeah, that would be great, because that might be of help. if anybody in this course wants to get in touch with her to see how that all came to be.